This is tina.channiel and welcome. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and be a part of the gang. That is good. Okay, you already know what we do over here. We tell stories, your stories, my stories, where nothing is off limits. Okay? Okay. So, I'm going to talk about this story, which is in very, very high demand. Yes, I was trying to kind of avoid not having to get into this story. However, a lot of people ask, you guys ask me a lot, and I think it's time. I think it's time. It just seems like it is. And yeah, the only thing is I don't want to have to get emotional, and yeah, but I think it's time you guys get to just know who tina.channiel is just a little bit better. Who is talking to me? Okay, somebody on my phone. Anyways, my voice sounds a little bit raspy. The weather is crazy, okay? But anyways, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys about my adoption story. It's a little bit it's a little bit of a long story, but I don't want it to be super long. I was thinking maybe one day I would do a live, and if you guys have any more questions, maybe you could ask them. But for now, I'm just gonna try to keep it as minimum as possible. Might have to be a part 1 and part 2, but we're gonna get into it nonetheless. Okay, so I'll start from the very, very beginning. All right, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. So my mother, my biological mom, I believe she had me when she was at least like 19 or 20. And my father, I think he was like probably like 21 or 22 or something. I don't know. But they were pretty much young, early 20s, right? The thing is, in Caribbean countries, especially in Jamaica, when people are having children that young, they don't see nothing wrong with it. Like, it's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Because sometimes in certain areas, girls having babies like, 16, and nobody sees nothing wrong with it. Same thing, some kind of sort of just like in America, but it's like, it's shunned, but it's not super shunned. It's shunned, and then it's not. It's very weird, but whatever. The minute that you are basically having sex or you have a little boyfriend, they just treat you like you was a grown woman now. Like you're a grown woman because that's what you're doing. Just because you have a little boyfriend or whatever the case is may be, you're no longer a child. Which I don't agree with, and I feel like it's complete nonsense. But okay. So basically, my mom, she was pregnant, right? This is the thing, okay? She couldn't afford it. Like, she just didn't have the means, and she just didn't have it. Also, her own mom didn't really have it either. This is the thing about me. See, I show certain generations of people grace because I realized there was a time where there was not enough resources, not enough of much of anything, especially if you come from like a poverty-ridden place. So it's just it's just nothing really going on. So she really just didn't have it. However, my father's family, which is who I was raised with, so because of how my grandmother is, she gave me to my grandma. Okay, this is the thing. She gave me to my grandparents, right? I was a baby. I did not know this. I didn't know this at all, right? So that was back in Jamaica. Fast forward to us now being in the States, right? I am with my grandparents. I am basically calling my mom, my grandma, mommy, my grandpa, daddy. Like, I did not know them as anything other than that, right? So also my biological father wasn't around either. So I'm basically calling my grandparents mom and dad because that's who I know as mom and dad. I never seen my like biological parents. So when you are a child, you're not gonna know that. So it's like, you know, you're not gonna know that. However, now this is how I start to kind of find out that my grandmother's not my mom. She never told me. That's the thing. So it's very weird because it's like people. I can only speak of like Jamaican people, honest to God. Like I can't speak of no other cultures and anything like that. I could only really just speak on my own. They don't see nothing wrong with that. Like, if you can't do it, if I have a child and I simply can't do it and I know I can't do it or whatever, I give my child to another family member. That's not nothing. Okay, you're gonna raise my child. If I'm their aunt and they just call me mommy, I'm just gonna, that's just that. Like, that's just what it is, you know? Or it could be a situation where it's like they'll just like let you know, like, oh, I'm not your mom, but whatever. It's either or situation. I didn't have that. The thing is, nobody in my home told me that. I found out when my biological mom was trying to talk to me, was trying to like have a conversation with me over the phone. So this is where the clicking, it confused me, right? I am with my grandparents, living with them. They are my parents to my knowledge. And now that this other woman is trying to get in contact with me and nobody explains who she is. Nobody says why is she calling me. Nobody says nothing. Literally, they just gave me the phone and let me speak to a stranger in my mind, like a stranger, right? So she's talking to me. Basically, my mom is like, oh, my biological mom is like, oh, like, I'm your mom. And when I tell you, that was the first ever time in my life where I went through my first ever real traumatic experience. When the person that you're calling mommy, now you know she's not your mother. And she don't even tell you she's not your mom. Like, she didn't say it. Like, oh my God, like, it's just so, damn, it's like the breeze. I'm gonna need a mic. I'm gonna need to get me a mic real soon. So that was like the first experience of like my trauma, right? So that, it was very confusing, like, you know, and try not to cry. So now I'm hearing like other family members say, I guess, like, say things like, well, you don't have to let her know, like stuff like that. I was like seven or stuff like that, right? So this is like stuff I'm hearing over, like, oh, you don't have to let her know if, you know, you don't gotta, you know, because you have her, you're raising her, she's basically your child. I am, because I was fully adopted, right? So this it's a very tricky thing, because it's like, this is what I'm overhearing, and I already had a conversation with this stranger, and which I basically didn't really say nothing to her because I didn't know who she was. So nobody's telling me who she is. I'm already hearing things like, you don't have to tell her. This is like whispers of the family, basically. You don't have to let me know that she calls, that she's my mom. You don't have to say that to her. You don't have to let her know anything, because she's already with us, so we could just raise her. Basically, my grandmother and my grandfather that is my father's side of the family. However, my father was not around. So it was basically them saying that she don't need to know about who is her biological parents if they ain't here. So that's really what it was, right? That is something I would say this to people who are adopted, whether it's through a kinship adoption. A kinship adoption is you're adopted by another family member, or you're adopted by complete people who are no blood relation to you, right? I want to know, when did you find out that the person that you were raised with was not biologically your parents? And this is only to people that are and was adopted. When did you find out that they were not biologically your parents, and how did it make you feel? Because that's a real true thing. Because honestly, what it did for me, it just made me want to be isolated, and it made me want to just stay to myself, which is the craziest thing, because I don't know, maybe that already made me want to be isolated, stay to myself, because I really just do it. I do that now. Like, I rather just be isolated. I rather just stay to myself. I rather just be in my own company. I really just don't even care sometimes to do things with people, because I feel like, why, in a sense? And it just, I don't know. Amen. The thing about that as well is not knowing, now that I know that these people aren't my parents, it's like, I don't know how to feel, because it's like, I feel like if someone sat me down and just told me, it would have alleviated some of my feelings, but nobody did that. Jamaicans. Anyway, so after that conversation that I had with my mom, I went to my grandmother and I just asked her, like, I just stopped like isolating myself, and I literally just asked her, like, are you my mom? Like, it was so, I don't know. I just asked her, like, are you my mommy? And then she said no. She said no. She basically said, no, Tina, man, your mother. I was just like, okay, if you're not, then who is and where is she? And then my grandma basically said how she's in Jamaica, and you know, you're gonna meet her one day. And I was just like, okay. So then I asked her, since you're not my mom, what am I supposed to call you? Because I've been calling her mommy for my entire life, basically. At the time, like, I was like 7 or 8, basically my entire life. And my grandma literally just said, I could call her whatever I want. And that was it. And that was just the end of that conversation. Like, I could call her whatever I want to call her. Same thing with my grandfather. I can call him whatever I want to call him. So if I choose to just say mommy, she's gonna answer that. And if I just say grandma, she's gonna answer that. If I say to my grandpa, daddy, he's gonna answer. I say grandpa, he's gonna answer. When it came to me and whatever I addressed them as, it didn't matter to them either way. So now, because I know now, and I feel like my grandma kind of knew, kind of messed with me a little bit, but she didn't really, I feel like she probably just didn't know how, maybe, I don't know, maybe she wanted to do things in her own timing, but it was never aligned that way. Because the thing is, there's a lot of things I was literally sheltered from growing up. Okay? When I tell you that my household was so strict, it was completely, my grandma had me on like a tight leash.